Hey everybody, welcome to another summer episode of the Keymasters series. I'm Sven Rajala, and today we got Giannis, can you help me pronounce your last name there?
Papadakis.
Yeah, Papadakis. He's my Greek buddy. And today we want to talk about the 4 eyes on HSMs. And what we mean by 4 eyes is literally 2 people, 4 eyes, 2 and 2, 4. And how you have, multi-person controls over it.
Exactly. It's basically all about dual control along the trust chain of your PKI, right?
So let's start at the root CA, because obviously that's the first thing we're going to build out in a PKI. What do you see as having the 4 eyes there? What do we want?
Yeah, I mean, root CA is not only the very first thing that you do when you build up a PKI, but
that's true. We might do the policy first if we're doing proper PKI.
At the same time, it's basically the very, very root of the entire trust chain, right? So PKI is all about trust, and then you want to make sure that the procedures around it. It's some would call it trust, some would call it vertrauen. But yeah, I mean, at this level, it's all about being able of trusting the key material that is there at any point in time during its lifetime, and it's a long lifetime. So you look at building up procedures which allow you to make sure that nobody would be ever able of
always having that 2-person control. There's always more than one person to ever interact with the crypto.
Exactly. It's always about dual control and probably multi-factor authentication on this dual control level.
Whether that could be like the cards or PED keys or however your HSM offers that level of control to maintain the M of N.
We didn't mention HSM, but goes without saying that if you are building up a PKI, especially at the level of the root CA, you should be looking at using a hardware security module, usually at different certification levels, but mostly we are talking about a FIPS certified device. And then depending on the vendor and the mechanisms available, all of them have some kind of concept. You should be implementing 4 eyes principle. That could be through a set of smart cards or through some kind of USB tokens, or anything alike.
So then let's go to the next CA then, our issuing CA. What could we do differently at that level then?
The lower you go down the trust chain in a PKI, the more you are looking at the whole availability aspect of it, right?
Or automation, I guess, too, right?
Automation and
well
availability.
I can interact with it.
Exactly. Why is that? I mean, a root CA is a very static part in your infrastructure. So a root CA basically is taken up every once in a while to sign a sub CA or a CRL, while a sub CA, an issuing CA, underneath is a way more dynamic in the sense that you are constantly signing certificates.
It's online all day.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. What changes with the issuing CA as far as our security goes?
Yeah, I mean, the issuing...
Or with the 4 eyes too.
Yeah, exactly. The issuing CA is a more dynamic part of your infrastructure or your PKI infrastructure. In terms of issuing certificates, it's online all time, right? And in terms of high availability across different data centers, so there you always have to balance between the security aspect,
I guess, and security, right?
Exactly, convenience, and next to that goes the availability of it, and the high security aspect of activating, deactivating, controlling, in essence, this issuing CA. So there you have to take multiple different aspects into account before you decide to go for something like a 4 eyes principle or multi-factor authentication.
Well, I guess, and that kind of leads us into the next part of assurance levels, right?
Exactly.
So if I want to be in a high assurance environment, I'm probably going to have 4 eyes everywhere, right?
Exactly.
I'm going to have manual activation. There's no auto activation even on my issuing CA, because that could, I want high assurance, always 2-person control that way.
Exactly.
That way we have not one person could ever mess with it. Always was 2 people.
Exactly.
Right? And I guess that's kind of the convenience you're talking about, that is assurance. If you go down to a medium or lower at that point to operate the PKI under, the lower you go in assurance, the more convenience you get, where automation can come in to automate activating a partition in that case, or bringing the CA back online without human interaction.
Exactly. And I mean, this assurance level goes hand in hand. On the one hand, there is the pure security aspect of it. On the other hand, frequently it's a compliance aspect. So maybe because of some compliance regulation, because of the vertical that you are in, you cannot do otherwise. So you might have to implement the 4 eyes also at this issuing CA level. but always keep in mind this trade-off. In essence, I think that's the key part.
It's the balance, right?
Yeah,
you need to
exactly.
balance for your PKI being compliant with the policy, but yet making the levels of security and convenience there that it balances.
Exactly.
And I guess let's look at backups then. How does backups and restore? I mean, shouldn't we have that should apply to the same as how we operate it, right?
That's a very good topic, by the way. That's a very good topic because exactly, I mean, we are talking about HSMs and securing the key material of your PKI and putting on top a 4 eyes or a multi-factor authentication. But I mean, all those devices should and do offer a kind of a backup mechanism, right? And once a backup is outside of an HSM, then immediately you have to think about, okay, how can I make sure that this backup cannot be restored without some kind of high
Multiple
security,
control in the MFN like
multiple
that.
control, either MFN or M out of N or a 4 eyes in that perspective. So there is the second aspect or the second part where you immediately have to think or consider a 4 eyes principle or an M out of N mechanism in place.
All right. So what we take away from this little episode is that when it comes to operating your HSM, think about the assurance level you want to operate and the 4-eye principle of having that 2-person control when you're operating it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.